We're over halfway through 2026 already, which means it's time to check in on all of Sony's PlayStation studios to see what they're making and what games are coming to your PlayStation 5 in the months and years to come. While the console has received many great third-party releases so far this year, such as Resident Evil Requiem, 007 First Light, and Crimson Desert, only one first-party game has made its way into our hands: Housemarque's latest shooter, Saros. This list is a couple of studios shorter than it was this time last year, in part due to the surprising closure of Demon's Souls and Shadow of the Colossus remake developer Bluepoint Games. You can read what Simon Carty thought about that here, where he described it as a PlayStation acquisition horror story. Another studio that is reportedly no more is Dark Outlaw Games, formed by Call of Duty veteran Jason Blundell in 2025, but supposedly already having been shuttered earlier this year. So, which PlayStation studios have games launching soon, or at the very least, have secrets up their sleeves? Well, that's exactly what we're going to take a look at. What are the developers behind PlayStation's highly respected library up to now? And how long will it be before we get to both see and play their projects? Let's dig into what each studio is doing and when we can realistically expect to see new games from them. Naughty Dog's attention is now firmly on Intergalactic: The Heretic Prophet, a spacefaring game with retro 80s vibes. After leaving the future of The Last of Us HBO show in the hands of Craig Mazin, studio head and creative director Neil Druckmann is now working full steam ahead with his team on the Uncharted Studios' first new IP since 2013. But aside from a cinematic heavy trailer at 2024's Game Awards, we've seen very little of this sci-fi story. And with the big State of Play stream having just taken place, a lot of people are asking the same question. Where is Intergalactic, and could Naughty Dog actually be skipping a whole console generation? What we do know is that Intergalactic stars Tati Gabrielle as Jordan A. Munn, a bounty hunter who gets stranded on a planet while on the trail of a criminal syndicate called the Five Aces. It's also rumored to have a deeper combat system than any previous Naughty Dog game, with the reveal trailer giving us a tiny glimpse of its lightsaber-esque gameplay. Oh, and the music is being composed by Nine Inch Nails, Trent Reznor, and Atticus Ross. That is always a good thing. Could this be Sony's big 2027 PlayStation 5 game? We can certainly hope, but we'd love to see some gameplay before making such assumptions. It appears that this isn't the only iron Naughty Dog has in the fire, with Druckmann teasing that the studio has a second unannounced game in development. Could this be The Last of Us Part 3? Uncharted 5? Something completely different? Let us know what you think in the comments. We finally know what Santa Monica Studios' next game is, thanks to God of War Laufey's reveal ending June's State of Play with a bang. Placing Kratos' wife Faye center stage, Laufey looks to expand the Norse saga beyond its 9 realms and into the afterlife as she battles gods from many different mythologies. Telling the story that appears to run parallel to God of War 2018, the combat is promising to blend the more modern, heavy-hitting action with the speed and agility of the original Greek games. We still don't know when we'll be playing it, but seeing as the studio's last AAA effort, God of War Ragnarok, was released in late 2022, hopefully it won't be too much longer to wait.
Kratos!
Marvel's Wolverine is the next PlayStation Studios exclusive to hit the PlayStation 5. Launching on September 15, 2026, Logan's ultra-violent adventure looks set to be more linear than open-world Spidey games we've recently seen from Insomniac, but from the gameplay we've seen, it shares the same slick action style. It'll mark the end of a 3-year wait for a new Insomniac game. By no means a long time compared to how long most AAA games take to make these days, but a notable duration all the same, seeing as Insomniac has been one of Sony's most productive studios over the last decade, launching multiple Spider-Man and Ratchet & Clank entries. This wait, of course, may be in part due to the massive data breach committed in 2024 that saw much of Insomniac's supposed future plans stolen and released to the public. Included in that theft was the notion that a Venom game was also in development at the studio and could have come out before Wolverine. That has been proven untrue as of now, though. Sucker Punch followed up 2020's Ghost of Tsushima with Ghost of Yotei on October 2nd, 2025. Atsu's story was well received and is one of the finest showcases of the power of the PlayStation 5 to date. The Seattle studio has already followed it up with Legends, the co-op multiplayer component of the Ghost series. As such, we wouldn't expect to see much from the developer anytime soon, having been so busy recently, even if those infamous remake remaster rumors do keep popping up every now and then. Guerrilla followed up 2022's Horizon Forbidden West with the Burning Shores DLC 1 year later as it continued to build out Aloy's story. With the West Coast set sequel ending on a cliffhanger, it's not a stretch to expect the Amsterdam-based studio to currently be working on the third part of the trilogy. The development time between Zero Dawn and Forbidden West was 5 years, so we may be getting close to hearing something about the series' next chapter. Before that though, Guerrilla will release its multiplayer spin-off, Horizon Hunter's Gathering, described as a tactical 3-player cooperative action game. It takes the post-apocalyptic world of Horizon and paints it with a cartoon-like art style. No release date has been given as of yet.
Every time the sun dies, madness reigns.
Saros only just arrived in April, but if its predecessor Returnal is anything to go by, we can expect post-launch support for the Finnish studio's latest looper shooter for some time yet. Returnal saw a challenge tower mode added as well as co-op support introduced in the months following its 2021 release, so perhaps we can expect something similar. If reports are to be believed though, don't expect Saros to come to PC, as Sony is believed to have reverted to its original console-only exclusive approach, with PC no longer a focus for the company. So far, Saros is believed to have got off to a lukewarm start when it comes to sales, but we'll see how that develops throughout 2026. Though not strictly a PlayStation studio, Sony acquired Bungie in 2022 for $3.6 billion. That's billion with a B. 4 years later, that investment isn't looking like the wisest for anyone involved. Destiny 2 has wound down development and significant layoffs were recently announced by the studio, with the vast majority affected being on the Destiny team. Elsewhere at Bungie, 2026 saw the release of Marathon, which, despite a rocky production period, launched to critical acclaim in March. Player numbers haven't necessarily reflected the quality of the extraction shooter though, with questions being raised about the future of the game as Sony continues to struggle with its approach to live service.
You want to know about us? Seems like everyone does these days.
Originally due for release in 2025, Haven Studios' multiplayer shooter Fair Games is nowhere to be seen. It's not been smooth sailing for another of Sony's planned live service offerings, with industry veteran Jade Raymond, who only founded the studio in 2021, leaving the project last year. Work is still ongoing on the online heist game, but little to nothing has been seen of it since the 2023 cinematic trailer reveal. We're currently left waiting to see what its gameplay actually looks like. Rumors were abound earlier this summer of a potential rebrand after Sony patented the title Break-In, though this still remains to be seen. Bend has been pretty quiet since the release of Days Gone way back in 2019, aside from giving us a remaster last year. But in 2022, a few slithers of details were revealed about what the Oregon studio was currently working on. It shared that its new game will build upon the open-world systems of Days Gone, but won't be announced until the time is right. Apart from knowing it won't be a continuation of Deacon St. John's story, we really know nothing. And it's been a rocky year for the developers so far, with reports that a live service game it had been working on had been scrapped by Sony, as well as layoffs impacting 30% of the team as it transitions to its next project. Whether this new game the reduced headcount is working on has anything to do with those details revealed 4 years ago, or if the studio is starting again from scratch, is unknown. Either way, we wouldn't expect to hear anything soon. Media Molecule spent most of the past decade working on Dreams, the game creation and curation project that was released in 2020. But as a result of the significant layoffs at the studio in 2024, live support for the game has now ended, with Media Molecule's current aim being to ensure, quote, Dreams transition into a self-sustaining platform. There has since been no news on what the developer's next project will be. Team Asobi gave us one of 2024's biggest games with the charmingly creative platformer, Astro. An ode to PlayStation history, it won many awards and cemented itself as one of the PlayStation 5's very best offerings. Since then, the Japanese studio has continued to support Astro with regular updates and levels as recently as this summer. But what next? Well, we wouldn't be surprised to see another Astro game on the way given the critical and commercial success of the 2024 Game of the Year winner. There's certainly no shortage of obscure PlayStation characters left to sprinkle through more of those colorful levels. Polyphony Digital has been making Gran Turismo for over 25 years now, so it would certainly be a shock to see it veer from that racing line in the near future. Gran Turismo 7 came out around 4.5 years ago now. Maybe the time is approaching for the reveal of the studio's next racing sim. Similarly, San Diego Studio is well established as the MLB The Show developer. This year's entry only dropped in March, so we can expect to see another next spring if history is anything to go by. FireSprite most recently developed Horizon Call of the Mountain for PlayStation VR 2, following the studio's newfound focus on VR games. There have been reports suggesting that FireSprite was working on a live service Twisted Metal game, which has since been cancelled. Instead, at June's State of Play, it was revealed that the team was working on Until Dawn 2, a follow-up to Supermassive's horror hit, this time taking place on a tropical island. Let's see if it can capture the magic of the original when it releases in 2027. Formed in 2025 as part of PlayStation Studios, Team LFG was spun out of Bungie to create a new team-based action game that draws inspiration from fighting games, platformers, MOBAs, live sims, and frog-type games. As to what a frog-type game is, your guess is as good as ours, but the project has been described as letting players inhabit a lighthearted comedic world set in a brand new mythic science fantasy universe. This one doesn't seem too far along the production pipeline though, so we aren't expecting to hear more anytime soon.
Are you out there?
Run.
That's everything we know about upcoming first-party PlayStation games, and the truth is that very few release dates look to be coming up quickly. Of course, this can and likely will change soon, and with Grand Theft Auto 6 looming on the horizon in November, it does make sense that many publishers are waiting for Rockstar to unleash their powerhouse before they make their own moves. That doesn't prevent 2026 and beyond from still looking relatively empty when it comes to PlayStation 5 exclusives. Let's hope that outlook will look a lot brighter soon, not only for players waiting for new games to play, but for the developers who work so hard to deliver them to us. For more on PlayStation, why not check out our opinion on PlayStation's most recent state of play? And for everything else, stick with IGN.